Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz, and we are going to be doing a review here of the Jagdtiger 88. And if you're wondering, haven't you already done that? Yes, I have. However, I had German music playing in the background to make it interesting, and the YouTube police has finally caught up to it and gone, no, that's historical. We can't be having that on here. So yeah, they've shut down the video. So I'm going to redo it here, because it's had like one change since last time, but I might as well redo it since you can't get the old video back. So, the Jagdtiger 88, it was one of the first premiums in the game, maybe even from the release of the game it was in, because, well, it's just generally one of the oldest premiums in World of Tanks history. And it is just a Tier 8 Jagdtiger with a different gun. There are some differences, obviously, between the two of them, but overall, you can see it is just a Jagdtiger. It is exactly the same in terms of armour of the normal Jagdtiger. So, starting off here, it has got 1400 HP, I believe. Yeah, 1400, which is not too bad compared to something like the Defender, which has got 1450. Something like the T28, which has got 1150. Or indeed the Ferdinand, which has also got 1400. Yeah, so it's got a pretty decent, sizable HP pool for the tier. So you know, you're not going to die in a couple of shots like something like the Scorpion, for example. As for the armour, it is 250 front, 80 side, 80 rib. That is only 250 on the upper part here of the upper superstructure, the upper fighting compartment, whatever you want to call it. It is only this plate here which is 250. The front of the hull is 200 right here, and the lower glacis I believe is still the old 150, because I know that the Tiger 2 got a buff. This thing got a buff so that the lower glacis is the same as the upper glacis. However, I don't know whether they extended that to the Jagdtiger and Jagdtiger 88. So this might still be the same old weak spot, but I haven't checked. So it's either 150 or 200 lower glacis, which is not the most armoured at this tier, considering there are a lot of things which do have over 200mm of pen. Most of the heavies do. The Tiger 2, for example, that's got over 200mm of pen. All of the American stuff basically has got over 200 pen, nearly 250 in the case of the T34, the Defender, the T28, you know, all these sorts of things. So most heavies will be able to go through that upper glacis, and definitely the lower glacis if it hasn't been buffed. However, you get it at range, you get into a decent hull down position where you can either cover this area or just cover the lower glacis, and you'll have a pretty decent time with it. 80mm side armour, you can still kind of bounce shots off of it, but it is a fixed gun tank destroyer, so you don't really want to be doing that. But overall the armour is very solid for this tier, and yeah, no notable weak spots other than, you know, the machine gun port here and the lower glacis here. So you can kind of front scrape it, you can kind of side scrape it, but it's not always reliable. Mobility though is not that great. 11.1 horsepower per ton ratio, 23 average speed kilometers per hour, 38 degrees per second hull traverse with a 770 horsepower engine. It's, yeah, pretty sluggish. Not as sluggish as the T28, although the T28 does have a better power to weight ratio, but it has got the same sort of traverse speed as this thing, worse even, mobility. It's not exactly a Scorpion G in terms of mobility. If you have a Ferdinand, for comparison, it's similar to the Ferdinand, although with a better hull traverse, and without a 128 mounted on it, because this is a Tier 8 Jagdtiger. So yeah, mobility, it's what you'd expect from a big heavy tank destroyer. It's not going to be rushing around the battlefield. The Defender has got a worse power to weight but a similar average speed but worse hull traverse. So yeah, it's not that great in mobility. It's sort of it's in line with most of the other big tank destroyers at this tier. The only things that are really going to be outdoing you in terms of TDs at tier 8 are something like the Scorpion, or the more mobile things like a Rheinmetall. Those sorts of things. Otherwise, it's your general big tank destroyer. As for guns, it does get a choice of 2 guns. You've got the old 88, and at some point they added a better gun, a 105, similar to how they did for the KV-5 and the IS-6, those sorts of tanks where they gave you a choice of 2 different guns, which generally had the trade-off of better pen but for lower rate of fire. In this case, the 105 does have worse aim time, slightly worse dispersion, slightly worse DPM, and a higher reload time, but for better average pen, etc., and average damage. Still gets 7 degrees of ground depression. The only reason I still use the 88, which has been buffed slightly, the only reason I still use the 88 is because it is a Jagdtiger 88, not a Jagdtiger 105. If I didn't care about that, I would obviously go with the 105, because the trade-offs that you get aren't really that bad in terms of it. The aim time is worse at 4.1 seconds compared to the 3.4. The dispersion goes up by like 0.01 near enough, but even so 0.29 accuracy is very, very accurate. DPM only goes down ever so slightly, and the reload time is still pretty good at 6.34 seconds, which is better than the 120 on the T29, sorry, T28, and it's better than the 105 on the Tiger 2, which is, these are basically the same sort of gun. Otherwise, average pen goes up to 236 instead of 213. APCR goes up to nearly 300 mil of pen, and it gets better HE pen with 66. And of course, the average damage goes up better. 310, 260, 420, and it's only like 100 XP to unlock this gun, so you can easily just free XP it. However, if you are going to stick with the 88, it is the same old long 88 as you've used on the Tiger P, and sort of like the stock Tiger 2 if you haven't unlocked any of the other guns on it. It's got very good aim time, very good dispersion. DPM is nearly 3k, just like the 105. 4.44 second reload time, which is pretty quick. 213 average pen instead of 203 like a regular 88. This has got slightly buffed average pen. APCR goes up to nearly 250 with 48 HE pen. Same old 220 average damage with AP, 190 with APCR, and 270 with HE. Still 7 degrees of gun depression. Both guns are decent guns. The 88 does have a lower AP damage, sorry. So you will have to get more shots onto target. But of course, if you do get into a good position, you can kind of permatrack people at this tier, which you might not be able to do with the 105 with that 6-second reload time. But with 4.44 second reload, you can easily permatrack people. Just keep on putting shots into their drive wheel and keeping their track repairing, and just do damage over time, the same as you normally would. And of course, if you can get yourself into a good hold down position, you have got 250 mil of upper glacis armor, upper fighting compartment armor rather, which, if you angle it slightly, will of course give you slightly better angling and slightly more, maybe up to like 260 effective thickness. And of course, you can't really pen through the gun mantlet. So overall, it's a pretty decent tank. You know, 10 degrees of gun limit left right, which, if you want comparison with the tier 9 Jagdtiger, and you want to see the armor, there you go. 250 front, 100 side. The tier 9 gets slightly better side armor. Still, it gets 8 degrees instead of 7 degrees, but it still has 10 degrees left and right. As for mobility, it's actually worse, with a 28 degrees of hold reverse and a 9.3 for the tier 9. So, you know, the tier 8 has got at least better mobility than the tier 9, and yeah, only 20 mil less side armor, which is it's the same as the King, I do believe. Oh no, 100. Okay, so it's slightly worse, but yeah. that's what you get with the tank destroyer. It's not designed for side scraping anyway. But there you go. So that is the basic stats of the Yarg 88. It's still a pretty decent tank destroyer at this tier, I do have to say. It may not be as effective as it once was, but you can still pen most people with the 88, and with the 105 you're going to obviously pen even more people, especially with that 50mm of extra APCR pen. As for consumables, you've of course got your standard repair, first aid, fire. You've got engine power boost, 20% to engine power for 15 seconds. You've got your adrenaline for 20% to low speed and 10% chance of damaging enemy vehicle modules. And then you've got your multi-purpose, which is those three rolled into one, so you can go ahead and mount them as you want. It is of course a premium tank, so you will get a far better credit coefficient, so you can afford to easily put provisions on. So I am running chocolate and chocolate bar to get the reload time of that 88 down, and improved fuel is obviously not going to harm either. So as for everything else, you've of course got standard and improved for 3 and 10% respectively to engine power and turret traverse. Not so much for the turret traverse, but it does help with the power to weight and all that for the engine. So that's what the fuels do. Chocolate bar and bar of chocolate for 3 and 10% respectively to crew mastery, and then your protective kit, which is all that stuff, so you can go ahead and mount them as you want. As for ammo, you do carry 68 rounds of 88mm, and probably something along the lines of maybe 50 of 105 rounds. So overall, you're never really going to run out of ammo in this tank. Even in a prolonged battle, it's not like the Valentine 2 where you're going to be blazing away at people. The ammo count on this thing is fairly decent. You'll probably be able to survive a long battle with it. So you can go ahead and mix those up as you want. As for equipment, I am running calibrated shells, so it didn't actually get a buff to its pen, but so the 105 goes down to about 220 average pen, I think, and then this thing goes to 203. So you can either run calibrated shells, which I am, although gun rammer is obviously not too bad of an idea, but the calibrated shells just gets you a little bit of extra pen at this tier. Improved modules for the extra track durability. You don't want to get yourself detract on this thing because the gun traverse limit is not that great, if we're being honest here. 10 degrees left and right is not exactly stellar. It's not the most at this tier. It's along the lines of the Ferdinand, which doesn't have the greatest gun arc. But yeah, generally you just want your tracks to be up as long as possible, so improved modules for the extra track durability. Coated optics or camonet, you are a tank destroyer, you can work as an assault gun in a pinch, but it's not exactly like the Tortoise where it's designed for a big assault. You do work better at range, so camonet probably is better to try and hide yourself. Supercharge, because with either gun you don't need enhanced gun lane drive, you do have decent aim times, so you're going to want supercharge for it. Enhanced armor, extra hull, extra armor ever so slightly. You do have good armor at this tier for a tank destroyer as well, especially. So go with enhanced armor, I'd say. You might want to go with improved assembly, but honestly I think enhanced armor is going to be the better option. Improved control or engine accelerator, I mean, doesn't really matter. I think engine accelerator got a buff at some point, maybe, or maybe I'm just remembering it wrong. But maybe engine accelerator for the extra general bonuses rather than an extra 1 degrees of hold reverse. You might want to go with engine accelerator. Vert stabs, because you don't need refined gun. It goes down to 0.25 accuracy, which is just stupidly accurate. So vert stabs for when you have to turn your hull to track someone. Vert stabs is probably going to be useful because, after all, 10 degrees left and right is not exactly the biggest gun arc. Is better than the gun carrier, but that's not saying much. Enhanced tracks, so that if you don't have to burn a repair kit on your tracks, they will go up to 100% condition instead of the yellow 50%. So enhanced tracks is probably going to be best, and then your choice of whatever the hell those two things are. So overall, the Jagdtiger 88. I still do like it. I still think it's a decent tank destroyer. It's, yeah, maybe not as good as it once was, with newer tank destroyers coming into the game, like, you know, the Scorpion G, for example. As, well, just one example right there. You can probably think of a couple of others if you have them. But overall, though, it is still a decent enough tank destroyer. Decent armor. Mobility is maybe not as good as it used to be, but when they added that 105 mil gun instead of the 88, I imagine more people picked it up for that reason, for the better alpha and pen, etc, etc. But yeah, So there you go, the Jagdtiger 88, and if you're wondering, is this the regular Jagdtiger in the tech tree? No, it isn't. This is the special Jagdtiger. There's the regular one, and as you can see, I can purchase it. But I'm not going to, because I don't need to, because this is just a Jagdtiger with a special, unique camouflage like the T-34 Independence over there. It functions exactly identical, it just has a different look to it. So for all intents and purposes, this is exactly the same as the one in the tech tree. So there you go, the Jagdtiger 88. I'll thank you all for watching, and goodbye.